Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SHAG Week podcast, hosted by me, Poppy Coates, your Women's Student Community Officer for this academic year. Today's episode is titled Contraceptional Wisdom, and will focus on all things contraception. I'm joined today by the splendid Tina, who is an advisor from the Advice Centre, and by Fran, who is our Community Engagement Coordinator. Did you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. So hi, I'm Tina. I'm one of the advisors at the Advice Centre, as Poppy has just said. So we give free, confidential and impartial advice on housing, wellbeing and academic issues.
My name is Fran, as Poppy introduced, and my role as Community Engagement Coordinator sits within the Voice team, and the Student Voice team help represent students on campus. So, for example, we have our amazing student communities, our inclusion and academic communities, which Poppy is a part of, and they help celebrate different campaigns throughout the year and also bring awareness to important issues that students are facing at the time. For example, SHAG Week.
So, should we start with what is sexual contraception? What does that entail?
As far as we understand it at Advice, device, drugs or surgery that's used to prevent pregnancy. I think there might be a possible sort of misconception that contraception refers to specifically protection against STIs, but condoms are the only contraceptive method that can help to prevent the transmission of STIs if they're used correctly.
Yeah, there are many different types of contraception as well. I think feeding off to that, obviously, and each contraception is completely dependent on the individual person's needs. So, for example, if you are using sort of an oral contraception like the birth control pill, like making sure that you're also using condoms as a way of preventing STIs as well. But also the pill might not work for someone and someone might just solely use condoms, and that is totally okay.
You've also preempted my next three questions, because my next one is going to be about how many different types of contraception people can name.
I saw this as a test. I was thinking about the different types and the different ones. I don't know if I fire a few out and then you can...
Before you do, I'll just preface this with saying that I've just written an article for the Advice Centre, which is on the SU website. And so because of that, I know there are up to 14.
Oh, wow. So we're going to okay. So obviously we've got implants. We have the injections, oral contraceptive pills. We've got vaginal rings. Barrier methods such as internal and external condoms. Did you want to keep firing some more?
Yeah. So you've got the coils, you've got the copper coil or the IUS, which is like a hormonal coil. There's also sort of more or less kind of drug-centered things, like more natural methods, perhaps like natural family planning. For males, interestingly, is also the withdrawal method, also known as the pull-out method, which also there's questionable evidence at how effective that is. And then obviously you've got the more extreme end, so mastectomy and that kind of thing.
And obviously we've got, I think it's important to say, emergency contraception as well. Yeah, things like the morning after pill, which differ to other oral contraceptive pills in the sense that it has to be taken within a certain time after penetrative intercourse.
And again, you've kind of preempted my next point about kind of the split in contraceptive methods between males and females.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a woman, I'd like to think there's maybe more work that's going to be done to make sure that it's more of in heterosexual relationships, that it's more of an even sort of split. Yeah, more focus on sort of both parties doing what they can, because it does seem at the moment, in fact it is at the moment, that there are sort of multiple methods for women, a lot of which can have quite extreme side effects.
Yeah.
For males, when I was trying to think of contraception methods, I could only think of 3. As a woman, I'd like to see that there's more work being done.
More needs to be done, both a physical aspect in terms of the creation of those male contraceptions, but also on an emotional one in the sense that the expectations around contraception between shares, like women.
Yeah.
So, for example, it's often an expectation that women are the ones that should carry contraception. As you have those phrases floating about, whereas obviously it is a two-party thing, and it means that two people are both responsible for ensuring that both parties feel safe and they are safe and that they're using the right contraception for each individual.
It's easy to kind of see how we've got to this point. Obviously, the repercussions for not using contraception do tend to fall on women. But you can see how it's been sort of over time more geared towards women doing their part. But I think, as we say, there's a bit of progression that could happen. But yes, there's definitely a disproportionate amount.
Yeah, I think regardless of gender, I think if you're thinking or you're having sex, I think then you should also be thinking about contraception. Yeah, I think it's something that's really, really fundamental. I think it's something that should be one of the first conversations that you have either with your partner or even with the person that you're just going to sleep with. You know, it needs to be one of the first conversations that you have in order to make sure that everyone is kept safe.
Yeah, yes. Kind of leading on from that point, what do you think is the importance of contraception, especially at university when people are in this kind of new environment in which they may be experiencing sexual relations alongside living independently for the first time?
I think the best way to approach it is to see contraception as a choice, I think, and the freedom to be able to choose as contraception. It may sometimes be overwhelming because there is so much to choose from, but also it eliminates some of the pressure that is when it comes to having sex for the first time. And I think it's obviously incredibly important because it allows, you know, obviously the choice then to make your own decisions and obviously find out what actually works best for you.
I think particularly at university is obviously a time, as you say, where people are potentially exploring a sexual relationship, maybe for the first time. And I feel like that can set people up for future relationships. So positive sexual experiences at university can have a big impact on the sexual experiences that you have in the future. And also just the fact that it's kind of widely shown that access to birth control is linked to higher educational attainment and better career outcomes for women in particular, obviously because of the repercussions in terms of pregnancy and that kind of thing. I think it's really important that these conversations are had now, even if it's the first time they're even talking about sex. I think that's another side of things, is having positive conversations about sex and framing it in a way that isn't so scary or isn't such a taboo subject. All of those things can really impact on relationships across a person's life, and university is obviously a time where those conversations might be more sort of rife. So important that we are setting that example and that students are fully informed to make choices about their sexual health and reproductive kind of lives.
Sex is still kind of a taboo topic that people are kind of a bit hesitant to discuss, but hopefully through things like this SHAG Week campaign and these podcasts, hopefully this is going to help people see that sex doesn't have to be such a taboo topic and have these discussions
that we see in like films and things, what's like a sexual situation, and I think you very rarely see a scene where, you know, it's getting really passionate and someone goes, oh, shall we read the box on the condom? I think there's this sort of misconception that contraception is not sexy, and you have the right to your own body and you have the right to make decisions about your own body, and ultimately without having that conversation you can't make an informed choice.
So I thought we could wrap it up, so to speak, with kind of specifically here at Royal Holloway what kind of resources and services are available on campus kind of in relation to contraception.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Tina's going to talk about the Advice Centre, right? So, but I thought I would just reference on another kind of online service / kind of Instagram account, the Brooke Sex Positive. So Brooke have the most fantastic Instagram with loads of fantastic and really great links for information on contraception. They dispel myths on contraception, but they also promote sexual health and sexual freedom as well. And it's a really great, they often post really great visual resources. So they take the information and they kind of, process the information and then put it up in really great summaries on their Instagram. So it's a really great accessible page. The website as well is really, really fantastic. They have a series of blogs from different students from who have been on a variety of different contraception. And they also have a really, really good test called the Contraception What Works For You test. and it helps you. It is a test that helps identify what contraception would perhaps work best for you. Obviously, it's best to go speak to a GP or a health specialist, but this is a good starting point.
Yeah, as Fran touched on, obviously at the Advice Centre, so we're based on the first floor of the SU building, and we have lots of sort of free resources. We provide free external condoms. They're all in discreet packages, which you can pick up, no questions asked. We also do STI test kits, pregnancy tests, and lots of other freebies as well. In terms of condoms and things, obviously you can buy them from supermarkets, pharmacies, convenience stores. In terms of the local area, you've got Jay's Pharmacy, which is a 20-minute walk from campus, the C-Card scheme. So that's a free and confidential condom distribution network. Another one, potentially if you don't live in the area or you're just wanting another option, there's the Freedom Shop, which is an online shop that sells sexual health products and STI kits at a low price, and they're part of the NHS, and those products are delivered in discreet packaging right to your door. Obviously, in terms of the implant and other things that actually maybe you need something to actually happen, or you need a prescription, your best bet is, as Fran has mentioned, to either visit a GP or a sexual health clinic. Obviously, last one, which is also on campus, is potentially if you're living in the catchment area, you can make use of the GP on campus, the Clarence Medical Centre.
Do you have any closing remarks? Any final statements that you wish to impart?
Biggest one for me would be when looking at contraception and when finally deciding what contraception you're choosing, don't worry if the first one you choose does not work for you. Don't just go for the first contraception you find either. Really do your research into it. Listen and consider your body's needs is my message.
I would just echo that in terms of listening to your body. I think also advocating for yourself. I feel like we see a lot of stories about people who've potentially gone and visited GPs and things and not been listened to.
Yeah.
But you know your body best, so you know how you're responding. And you know if you're not getting the support you need in one place, go and visit somewhere else. Obviously, if you need any support, one of the first things I'd advocate for is come and speak to us at the Advice Centre. We're more than happy to give you some free and confidential advice or guidance, and if we're not the best people to speak to, we can point you in the right direction.